Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another piano tutorial. My name is Kyle, and today we are doing the Coldplay cover of the Pretender song 2,000 Miles. Before we get into it, I just want to say that this isn't going to be 100% accurate note for note as to what Chris plays in that studio recording. There's a lot of different things he's doing with his right hand that I can't quite figure out. It's a little challenging, but overall, this is going to be an accurate version for like the main melody as well as the actual chords in here. So you'll be able to play this song, and it will be recognizable for sure at the end of this tutorial. It's just not 100% note for note what he plays in that studio recording. That being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so starting off with that intro, here's middle C right here. Right hand's playing G, A, C. Left hand, single D note. And you're only playing this D note on that first chord press. And then after that, you're just bouncing back and forth between this right hand chord and F sharp. If you have trouble with your right hand kind of squeezing in there, you can use your left hand as well. But you're going to play that 6 times total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then on 6, we transition to the main riff. All right, so moving into the main riff, which is like 70% of the song. Usually I teach left and right hands separately. For this particular song, I think it's best to teach them both together. It seems a little bit complicated at first, but it's really not that bad once you get the pattern down. So we're starting off with this first chord here, left hand G, D, right hand G, B, D. We follow that by a single note G in the right hand, and then single note D in the left hand. Next part, right hand alone, goes up to A, D, F sharp, and then you follow that with a single note G. So from the beginning. And the next part, left and right hand together, left hand G, C, right hand G, E. Once you play that, right hand then walks down to D and then G. Then we finish this off by left hand moving up alone to play A and D. And then the right hand alone plays that same chord as before, A, D, F sharp, followed by the single note G. And then we land right on that first chord, and we're back to the beginning. So the entire thing from the beginning, nice and slow. A little bit faster. So I recommend taking that step by step, nice and slow, and just, playing it. Once you get the pattern, slowly speed it up, and before you know it, you'll just have that muscle memory in there. All right, so there's the main riff right there. Something else I want to mention he might do alternatively for this chord here, the A, D, F sharp. He might omit this D and just play A and F sharp. That sounds a little bit more accurate to my ears. So for example, so that's something he might do. Once again, not sure. I usually just play that entire D chord right there, but that's something you can do as well. Just keep that in mind. All right, so there's the main riff, and now we move into the first verse, which sounds something like this. see that main riff making its way back into that second half there. So this is kind of more of a simplified version of what he plays in the studio version, because it's I couldn't quite make it out. I think there's a lot of bouncing back and forth between G and F sharp up here. I just had a hard time with it, so this is just a simplified, 3 chords, that's it. So starting off, first chord, G chord, left hand is G, D, right hand G, B, D, G. Second chord, left hand just shifts down to G and C. Right hand we just shift B and D up to C and E. Keep the G's. There's our C chord. Then the third chord, left hand just shifts up to A and D. Right hand we shift up to that A, D, F sharp. Now here you could play this high A right here. What I like to do is I like to play this G instead. It gives it that sort of, off chord Coldplay feel. Kind of classic thing Chris does. I just think it sounds cool. So that's what I play right there. And yeah, those are the 3 chords that we just kind of loop. So that G chord, C chord, then that kind of off D chord. So what I'm doing for the melody, I'm kind of just bouncing back and forth, using my thumbs a lot like Chris does, just... You'll notice here too, the left hand actually is the exact same as that main riff, Same thing there. So we play that twice, and then on the third time, we're just back to the main riff. Play the main riff twice as well. So it's the chord progression twice, main riff twice, and then we repeat that entire thing a second time. And then from there we go into the chorus, which sounds something like this. Very simple, just 2 chords back and forth, play it twice. So first chord, we're on that C chord, so left hand G, C, right hand G, C, E, G. And then we just shift up to that D chord, left hand A and D, right hand A, D, F sharp, and this time instead of G, you're on that A. And like I said, just play that twice, So this is the, I heard people singing. It felt like Christmas time, so play it twice. On that second time, too, something you can do for the transition is you're on that C chord here. What you can do is when you bounce up, you can play that right hand G note, followed by this left hand E. And then that right hand G note once again. So for the beginning of the chorus. So just G, E, G, and then land on that D chord there like that. So it felt like Christmas time, and then we're just back to that main riff. Alright, so now we're at that instrumental break, and it's just the riff, main riff, played once again. There is a slight change here, though, for the third time around. It sounds something like this. I'll do my best to kind of explain that, kind of break it down a little bit slower. But it's definitely very distinct in that recording there. So we start off, same thing as before. Play the main riff twice. On the third time around, start off like usual. Then we can do... So same thing as before. At that right hand chord, single note G, and then once you land down here on the G and C in the left hand, right hand will play G octaves. Then right after that, what I play, so I'll play G octaves, E, and then G. Then we move up here. Left hand A and D, right hand the A, D, F sharp. So we hear that normal chord right there, and then immediately after just move to those G octaves. And then back to the beginning. Just that chord, and then 2 G octaves. One more time, a little bit slower. Even this part, I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate. That's just kind of what I can make out for that part. It is a little bit challenging, but I think once you kind of I think the main difference is when you move up to this A and D chord. I think before, for the main riff, it was just that chord by itself. So you play that chord by itself and then you play the right hand. This time the main difference is you're playing that right hand chord with that chord. That makes it sound a little bit different. So that's that main difference there. You're just playing those chords together and then those G octaves. But if that's too complicated for you, you can just obviously just play the main riff as usual. From there, we just loop back into the verse. Once again, same thing as before. You just loop the same thing. Then we go into the chorus once again, same thing there. So from here, you're pretty much done with the whole entire song. You just keep repeating the same thing over and over. However, for verse 3, we have a little bit of a change, which sounds something like this. All right, so a nice little melody there for the third verse. So what we're going to do is left hand is pretty much the same thing as before. You're just on the same chord, so G and D, single note D, G, C, A, D. Once you recognize that pattern in the left hand, I think it makes the rest of the song easier because you're repeating that same thing throughout the song. So starting from the beginning, we have that left hand chord first, G and D. Followed by the right hand single note, G, B, B, back down to G, and then single note left hand D. So I'm just walking up and walking back down. There's the first part right there. Right after that, left hand goes to G and C. Then right back up to G and B in the right hand. Then right here, when your left hand goes up to A and D, your right hand's going to play A at the same time. So far we've kind of just, it's been left hand, right hand, left hand. Now we're playing both hands together. So A and D, right hand's also on A. Then we just finish off with a single note, F sharp, E. That's it. So from the beginning. Just like that. just keeps looping, I believe, for 8 times total. All right, so there's a third verse, and now we just move into the final chorus, which is the same thing as before. However, there's a little bit of a change. So we repeat those chords, that C chord and then the D chord. We play that 4 times. And then for the last 4 times, we play something a little bit different. Left hand's still the same. So G and C up to A and D. But the right hand, instead of playing G, C, E, G, you're going to remove this G and you're just going to shift up here, play C, E, G, C. And then same thing with that next chord. Instead of playing A, D, F sharp, A, you're going to move up and play D, F sharp, A, D. So essentially, instead of playing 2 Gs for the first chord and then 2 As, you're playing 2 Cs and then 2 Ds. And that's for the final 4 times. So the entire last chorus sounds something like this. Here we go back into the main riff, but before doing so, we play the intro bit again. This time, we're playing it 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. And then on that third chord, we just shift right back to that main riff. Play it 4 times. And then just end on this G chord right there. Alright, that's going to wrap it up for this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. If you're still having any trouble, you can check out my Synthesia lesson as well as my piano cover. I will have that linked in the description below as well as at the end of the video. Once again, this isn't 100% accurate note for note, but it's definitely playable, it's definitely recognizable, and it's definitely a lot of fun to play. But yeah, that's going to do it. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next one.